workbook looks like. But I'm going to pull up my sheet, and we're going to go over some review or reflections of last week. So last week, episode 13, the main passage came from Luke chapter 11, verses 14 through 23. But we found out, and what I shared with you guys, that you can find the same passage similar, maybe wording or different, in Mark chapter 3, verse 20 through 27, Matthew 12 and 22 through 30. Remember, Matthew and Mark are disciples following the Messiah, and Luke, he's investigating. So he is speaking to the disciples that walk with him. So he's talking to witnesses, and he is writing down his findings, which is quite amazing at how similar it is to the rest of the Gospels. Notable themes from the passage from last week was that Yeshua goes back home. Why is at home? He's able to say that a prophet is without honor among their family, the community, and the religious leaders. No honor there. While he was there, he cast out demons, and he had a whole discussion on the divided kingdom, because there were some who acknowledged him as the Son of Man, the Son of David, and then there's some who, which really was the religious leaders, said that he was casting out demons by Beelzebub. So he taught them, as usual, and many other areas too, that a divided kingdom cannot stand. So there are my cross-reference. In the word study, the only word study we had was out of Colossians 2 and 14, when it's talk about the ordinance, the dogma that was nailed to the cross, and not the anomia, which is the Torah. So in my reflections, I'm hoping that everyone can see this very well. Again, Yeshua's back home in Nazareth, and there is a crowd. He's with his disciples. There's this huge crowd that came around at the time that they were eating. They were unable to eat. During this time, his family heard about things that was going on, and they was trying to get to him, because to them, he is out of his mind. Mind you, that none of his brothers followed him. They mocked him at times, and here they believe he's out of his mind. But after he dies and raised from the dead, they were able to recognize who he was and who he is, and became followers of him. Of course, you know there's James and other disciples in Jude. Now, the scribes, the lawyers, and the Pharisees came from Jerusalem at this time. And again, with that same pitch, that he was possessed by Beelzebub, that he was doing these things by Satan. And it's important for them to say this message to the people, so the people would not believe, because they wanted the people to know that he's not doing these things by Jehovah. Because if he's not doing these things by Jehovah, that means he's following Satan, which means he cannot be the Son of David. He cannot be the Son of Man. He cannot be the Messiah, because the Son of David, like David, will delight in the law. And so they wanted most definitely to be able to discredit him and to be able to stone him, as the law requires for all of those who's practicing witchcraft, those who are doing tarot cards, all these type of things that they were opening doors to demons to. So that most definitely would have them instructions to follow to stone him. And so what was interesting is that Yeshua made a statement, and you only find this in Luke and Matthew, is that if I drive out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your sons drive them out? So then those ones who are your sons will be your judge. Remember, during judgment time, everyone is going to be presented at the same time. So you will be able to judge those because of the righteousness that you walked in versus they had a witness and they ignored. And we will find out more about that today. So, what are we saying? Do you mean that there are others that was casting out demons in the name of Yeshua that were not his disciples? Yes, we most definitely found that in Luke 9:49 when John, one of the disciples, came up to Yeshua saying, "Hey, we found someone else who was casting out demons in your name, but he's not among us." And that's when Yeshua said, "Hey, don't even stop that. The one that's for us is for us. He's not against us." So he can most definitely continue doing that work. So the question is, what does it mean when you go back under the law? Because this is the question that came out of the teaching last week. And what I want to say is that to that question, this was also some questions I get from some people, is what does it mean that you go back under the law? Because if you are not a natural born Israelite, and you did not join in, for an example, you did not join in with the Israelites when the children of Israel came out of Egypt. They had a mixed multitude with them. And that mixed multitude, along with the children of Israel, was presented the law. If you are not like maybe Rahab, who joined in with the children of Israel, she was presented with the law and she followed. If you're not like Ruth, who was another Gentile who joined in, who did not have the law, but came in and presented the law, and she followed. We today, this still goes for us that are not natural born, who was not taught the law's children, who did not go to the school and learn these things. We joined in, we grafted in, so we never have a law to go back under. We actually joined into the root, and now the law is presented to us. You can't go back to something that you didn't have the first time around. So now we're presented the law and instructions. So you can't go back under something again that you didn't have. So who are we following? So we're following the Messiah who told us to follow him, right? And following him means you're following the instructions along with the Holy Spirit that helps you follow the statutes and the instructions. We talked about that from Ezekiel. Application. I will do my best to walk the word out. And that's the whole word. That is encompassing both the old and new together because it complements one another. To be led by the Holy Spirit, like his son, the Messiah, the Son of Man, Son of David, and follow the greatest commandments, which is to follow the Lord, the God of all their heart, all their mind, all their soul, and love thy neighbor as ourselves. I will learn how to follow these two great commandments by reading and studying the law, the prophets, and of course the writings that would teach me on how to follow these two great commandments.